Do we all have to do the go live?
Yeah. So we're live. How you doing, Christine?
I'm doing well, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing good. We got a few people with here. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, or at least we have Boyan here, Dr. Yu, and then
Angela.
Angela. I wasn't gonna try, but thank you so much for that. I would have really messed that up. So yeah, Christine, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So this is our webinar on dissertations, thesis, doing your grad school projects. So we have a few people here who have recently completed theirs, and just to kind of get some tips and a little advice. It's kind of one of those things I wish I knew when I first started type of thing. So I guess we'll just kind of get into it. I guess, Lily, you're on the top screen. You want to go first?
Okay. So should I just introduce myself?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So my name is Oindrila Chattopadhyay Van Meter. I came to the US to pursue my PhD in history, medical history. The PhD program part of that did not work out at University of Wisconsin-Madison, but I did get my master's from the history department, and I had like a 5-year funding guarantee thing. So I did also like TA-ships and research assistantships during that time in the history department. But then I found a program that was more fit for my interests, which was Master of International Public Affairs at the Robert M. La Follette School of Public Affairs at also UW-Madison. And by this time I had had funding guarantees sort of from the place where I was working as a graduate assistant. It's called the Center for the Study of the American Constitution. So then I completed my master's from the Robert M. La Follette School of of Public Affairs, and I had the funding guarantee that took me through those 2 years of master studies. So I got 2 masters from the UW-Madison, and right now I'm looking for a job. Thank you.
Yeah, I muted myself. So I think maybe Boyan, if you want to just give a brief overview of your education and where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So hi everybody. My name is Boyan. I currently live in Canada. I have been here for about how long is it now? 2001, 20 years. Wow, it's been a while. Did basically all of my schooling in Canada, besides like grade 2 and 3. Went to Carleton University for a history undergrad. And then once that was done, took me 5 years to finish it because I sporadically did classes, didn't do them all, like 5 per year. That's too much. But then after that, I took a year off because I was like, I don't really want to do anything with history now that I really think about it. I thought I wanted to teach. Turns out I didn't want to teach. So I kind of just took some time away, decided what to do. And then I kept looking. I was like, what market right now like really could fit my interests of research, writing, or just getting to know about people? So I was like, marketing research seems interesting. So I talked to a coordinator at Algonquin College in Ottawa, decided to sign up. Didn't really do any like specific research projects when I was there, but it was mostly just, there's qualitative classes, there's quantitative classes, there's like stats, like learning about online market research, offline, etc. And that took me to a couple co-op places, including Health Canada and the Innovation, Science and Economic Development of Canada for a bit. Wasn't kept on, obviously. Then I did some construction, so don't lose hope. And now I'm here at QuestionPro working with Dan and Christine. So that's been my path here.
Thanks, Boyan. Dr. Yu?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Yu Liao. It's like European Union, so it's easy to pronounce EU. And I'm a lecturer in teacher education at the University of Texas at El Paso, also called UTEP. I received my bachelor degree in applied mathematics from Tonghai University in Taiwan, and I have a master in mathematics as well, and my PhD from UTEP. And my dissertation is mixed method research. I focus on the minority students' assessment-based feedback literacy in higher education. And my research interests are learning analytic, assessment, feedback in STEM education. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And again, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your schedules. So I think we're just going to kind of open this up and have like a conversation. So feel free to kind of bounce off each other or whatever. I'll just throw out some beginning questions and you guys can kind of just, answer as you please. So the first one, how did you decide about what topic you were going to choose? Like what project you were going to work on? Was it something that you were able to choose yourself? Was it something that was assigned to you? And would you have done it a different way, I guess?
Okay, I can start. So I have one master's dissertation that I did at the UW Madison for the history department, and then I also did a capstone project for my public affairs degree. So for the dissertation in history, I had to kind of choose my own project because in humanities, they're not like team projects generally. So you have to have an area of interest, and then you look up what sources you might be able to use for your dissertation, and that kind of determines what subtopic or specific subject you might be able to do the dissertation on. And when I was broadly interested in medical history, but I did not want, though I was specializing in the area of US history, because in history you need to have a region too. I wanted to have some more I wanted to have a more international exposure as far as my topic was concerned, because if I did not want to narrow down myself just to one place. And also with medical histories and environmental histories, things that I'm interested in, geographic boundaries don't necessarily like don't necessarily apply to every topic. Like diseases spread across boundaries, as we have seen during the pandemic, and also the same goes for environmental problems. So I wanted to have a more international feel to my topic. So I went with the history behind the development of the yellow fever vaccine. And at that time, my advisor also had a lot of archival sources that from the Rockefeller Foundation. And so I was able to use some of those sources, basically things that he was not using for his own research, he thought I could use for the yellow fever stuff. So I went about that's how I was able to gather my materials, and then also that kind of determined what I would be doing. Though I think that there are things that I could have done if I knew more about data analytics, and if history was not defined as something that happened in the past and something more that I could connect to policy, like health policy, more in in the present, and not even in the 1970s and 80s. If I could bring my topic more towards the present, I think that would have been more helpful. So that's when I kind of started thinking that I want to do history for policy's sake, and for to do good policy I need to know more about data analysis. So that kind of in a way brought me more towards public policy. And as far as the public policy capstone project goes, I thoroughly enjoyed the public policy program. And we learned a lot about how to gather data, analyze it. And until my public policy program, I had done more qualitative data analysis, do focus group interviews, and just interviews one-to-one and gather data and like come up with maybe simple statistics, but more or less like telling stories. That's like more like research that depends on people's lives and their stories kind of. So but at La Follette School I learned more to work with data. So for the capstone project, we had to choose from a short list of different options we had, and I would say that even more than the topic, I gave my short list depending on who I would be able to work with. So Christine was one of them that I wanted to work with, and my other friend Abby was another person that I wanted to work with. And because it was a team project, I thought that like I could fit myself to do any topic, but the most important part of a team project is the team. Like if you do not get along with the team members, and if they're not pulling their weight, and if you're frustrated with that, like that would like really wreck your project and your experience with the project. So I kind of talked to them what they liked, and we finally were able to get a project that dealt with the barriers that guardians ad litem face in Wisconsin when they have to advise the court on how to place like how to decide the custody of a child in domestic abuse cases, uh, during divorce proceedings basically. So yeah, team and like the available options that made me choose that project. Thank you.
Thanks. So you probably worked more independently on your projects. Do you have any pointers on that? I guess if you're working by yourself, you have to keep yourself motivated a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really envy about you can work with a team. Like basically, my dissertation is all by myself and with my chair as well. And I would say at the beginning it was kind of like I jumped into the topic like what I want to do. And so at the beginning I wanted to create a topic on educational technology and learning analytics by collaborating with a LA scientist in Spain. And then I wanted to kind of doing so much things. So that's why when my project went to like all over the place, so my chair actually told me and sit me down like, you know what, you really need to narrow down because you are all over the place and your project is not tangible because we don't have that kind of resource here. Our program doesn't support that kind of technology. So you need to really be on the ground and start over and thinking about what can you do to kind of grow in a different path, but with the same material you were developing in the past few years. And I think I really learned that valuable lessons by reshaping my direction, but without losing everything, so you kind of have some foundation there, but you still can be able to carry on your project. Yeah.
Did your advisor help you do that, or is that something you just...
Yeah, it's kind of like it's an interesting story because I actually changed my chair because of that. But that's because of my first chair told me like we try everything, it just doesn't work out. So I highly recommend you to find someone be able to work it again, but with a different topic. And I really appreciate how she was so open to me, and then letting me go with another advisor, and then start that kind of new topic. So yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And then I will ask Boyan. We kind of have a similar background where we came from maybe a different sort of educational path, where in Canada you have universities, masters, you call them dissertations, like their master's thesis or your your PhD thesis. But we have these market research schools, so they specialize in things that QuestionPro does. And so it's quite an interesting thing where, so me and Boyan kind of went through these courses, and it's rather group work, so multiple projects. So Boyan, can you tell me a little about that kind of multiple projects as opposed to, a giant thesis at the end of the year or something?
Yeah. So with multiple projects, you have to make sure and this is what I learned throughout the marketing research program that I was doing, is establish what everyone's roles are going to be right away in the first class that your project is assigned to. I noticed that a lot of the time, and this was like me too doing this, we kind of just keep it, like, oh, like it's not even the deadline yet, like it's 3 months away. But that kind of stuff tends to creep up on you. I'll give you an example. I was in a stats class with my group, and we just kept putting it off and off and off because we're like, oh, we got like other group projects to do, like this should be easy. A week to go with the project, we realized, okay, this is not so easy. So from my experience with working with teams in especially any like graduate programs, any kind of like undergrad or just wherever you are in life, set everything up early, and that way your projection for the future will be better. And now me and Dan have taken that motive into the new year at QuestionPro as well. We're establishing our goals early, which will set us up better for the future. So that's what I learned in a team. And funnily enough, I actually I didn't work for Dan, but Dan was one of the heads of the Marketing Research and Intelligence Association in Canada. And I actually was in a competition with 2 other team members. I don't know if you remember that, Dan, but you watched me on video even before we started to work together.
Yeah, it was quite a memorable experience, like now.
Yeah, nice.
But it was good. It was good.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it sounds like everyone had a little bit of a different background on this, which is great to hear the different angles and takes that you've experienced. So based on the fact that you all have kind of different backgrounds, is there like one piece of advice that you would give someone going through a program like this, or maybe even they're still looking for a university to do their program? I know, like when I was looking for a university, I knew the degree I wanted, but one of the reasons I went with UW-Madison is because of this capstone project, and because you actually work with real clients and you get that real world experience when you leave. So did any of those kind of things play into like the school you chose, or any advice you'd like to give people?
I can go here first. So I wanted something a bit more hands-on. I realized that I just wanted something, even if it wasn't straight after school, but something that would give me the experience to eventually land working somewhere in due time. The end of university, I just maybe didn't put as much effort into it as I probably should have. So I was like, I think I need something just more hands-on, something that's a little bit quicker pace, and that'll get me over the line faster. And so from a personal standpoint, that's where I chose to do the graduate research program. But before it, I did like research into other ones. Like I was thinking of maybe doing a supply chain management program, and I was kind of like, nah, I'm good. I don't want that. I was thinking about getting into teachers college. Didn't want to do that again. So I just went into doing the graduate program at Algonquin.
I can jump on. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I think definitely I will recommend, like for prospective students, to check on the faculty's background, publication, and also what kind of funded program they are currently on. And I think that will be really helpful when you choose your program or even your university.
Yeah, when I was like preparing for my GRE back in Kolkata, India, I knew that I would not be able to afford any graduate school in US or anywhere without funding, like full funding. So I think that was my main kind of criteria. Like if I saw that a university offered full funding, then I would proceed to see what their faculty members did or not, like who was the best match to be an advisor. Which is not like, so in from what I understand, in STEM fields you do not have to necessarily look up specific faculty members as like to be your advisors later on. But in humanities programs, it's very important that someone say that, okay, I would be interested to take you on as an advisor, because that's how the admission decisions are made, like if someone is willing to take you on. Whereas in STEM programs, that's not necessarily the case. So for me, I happened to sit down at the computer at like the United States India like Education Foundation library, and the page was open for UW Madison. That's how I got to know about UW Madison, and I saw that the deadline was near. I saw that the history program offered full 5 years funding. So then I started looking into who would be a good fit for my interest. That was a long story, but that's how I came to UW Medicine. But yeah, for me, funding was the most important. And then, as you said, Doctor, you said you have to kind of also know whom you would be working with, and also like if the field, even for STEM, I guess, like if the field that you want to study later on, if your university specializes in that or has a strong program in that field.
That's all really good advice. Thanks. So I don't know, I guess I know Lily and I didn't have to do an IRB, thankfully, because of the work we were doing. But Boyan, did you have to go through the IRB process? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
painful.
the American IRB is a little different than ours, right? It's sort of like to get approval by sort of government bodies and things.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did
so
not have to do that.
right.
No.
Not for my graduate program. I just was like, I want to do this, and then I just signed up for it and did it.
Right.
But they do obviously look at a few things like your past grades and stuff, because for graduate programs you need to have a certain grade from your undergrad in order to qualify for it. So let's say like I absolutely flunked it, they probably wouldn't have taken me. But it was one that required some sort of educational background or certificate, I should say. So that's mostly what they look for in Canada for graduate type of programs. I believe for PhD and anything like higher than that, you kind of need approval from like schools and maybe other factors. I may be wrong, Dan. I have not looked into pursuing a PhD, so I don't really know. But from what I've gathered from speaking to people, that's some of the things they had to do.
Yeah. Whereas referrals and GPA and all sorts of things, I was probably just tired of after like, I don't know, 15 years of school. So maybe other people have a different perspective on that.
Dr. EU, did you need to have one for your master's and for your dissertation, or did you just have to do one and carry it through?
Actually, like for my master, I don't need to because I was in mathematics. So basically, I don't have any researches interact with human. But in the doctoral, yes. And so in the US, I think it depends on your project. So any research project related to, doesn't matter in medicine or in humanity, as long as it's involving human subject, you have to apply for IRB. And it's really funny, like I was like, that requirement in Canada was not any of it in the US because of, it's basically you propose a project. So you have to write like kind of like a grant proposal, but with all the detail, like what instrument you're gonna use, what question you're gonna ask, and what is your like survey might look like, what's your question will look like. So you have to lay out all the detail to make sure the other agency, which is the one, each university have their own IRB office. They will have a special agent will look at your proposal and then make sure it doesn't have any harmful potential to the research subject. Yeah.
And
yes, I mean for our capstone project, Christine, like yes, we went through the training for IRB, but we didn't have to do that for a project. But for a previous project, I did do that. For it was like we had to go to Uganda to like talk to a number of people who lived in the Kibale Forest National Park and like get their ideas on what they think of eating bushmeat, or how if they're concerned about interspecies viral transmission of diseases. Like in that national forest there had been a lot of like research on AIDS, HIV/AIDS, and also Ebola, and things that are thought to spread from consuming wildlife. So we were going to ask them, like in light of the knowledge about interspecies viral transmissions, where they kind of staying away from bushmeat or not. So for that, we had to go through an extensive IRB process. And I remember, like, as Dr. Yu said, like, you have to, like, the interview, like the university board kind of meets and they decide whether it poses any risk to the people who would be interviewing. And they don't want to sacrifice those people for the benefit of greater society, kind of. That's not what you want. So they kind of review it again and again, and if they find any red flags, they will ask you to go back to the drawing board and finagle with your plan. And so yeah, we did that, and it takes a lot of time.
And I know I have a few friends that were in the middle of the process when COVID hit and we had to go remote, and they had to like redo whole sections of their IRB and go back and get another round of approval, which yeah, I mean, I guess you really have to be flexible when you start these programs.
And time constraints can be a huge deal.
But just to let everyone know, we do have some people that work with us at QuestionPro that have gone through the IRB process repeatedly and are there to help people if for some reason, you're not working with an advisor or something like that. And they'll go through your proposal, they'll go through your questionnaire to help you make sure that your questions aren't biased or, anything like that. So if you are going through the IRB process, don't stress out. Someone will be there to help you, get you through. I guess we just have a couple of minutes. In closing, do you guys have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do. No, I just like to bring up, it's the QuestionPro, a platform. I mean, for anything survey related is obviously a no-brainer. Have you guys quickly, so you guys have been using QuestionPro, maybe not Boyan for your school, but now that you're using it, was it helpful in putting it together? Dr. Yu?
Yes.
You're currently using it? So it was helpful, I mean, in terms of the ease of use or things like that.
Indeed, because of, in fact, I think when I start changing to survey research, and our school also start using QuestionPro. I think used to use a different software, and then now they purchase the license for QuestionPro. And at the beginning, I was in panic because I was like, I have no idea what this is, right? But without going through intensive tutorial, I just got everything in hands really quickly. So I really appreciated the user-friendly platform it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little biased because I worked there, but when I have a qualitative background, so it was like doing a survey. Survey was always a bit of a challenge more than my colleagues, but since I started, it's sort of like the ease of use is very good. You get to actually do the research rather than fiddling with the platform and making mistakes, and it's a good thing. Cool.
Yeah, for our project like Capstone, we designed quite a large survey, and then we used Google, what is it called? Google Forms at the time.
Forms.
Yes, Google Forms. But like we did not know about QuestionPro back then. And yeah, it took a lot of finagling to get some things right, like the way we wanted the questionnaire to look, and ease of use was an important thing on our minds, and we had to figure those things out extensively before sending it out. So anything that's user friendly would be very helpful for students.
Great. I like that plug at the end, but it's been great. Christine, do you have anything else? It's been great to meet you guys today and hear your perspective and how your journey.
And we just, again, really appreciate your time joining us today and sharing this with you. And I'm looking forward to some future students getting in touch with us about this.
Yeah. And do reach out. There's a couple of things still on the go, I think, with student initiatives, and we'll continue to have perspectives and as this show continues. So thanks.
One last thing, I just put in a website link into the chat box for everyone. This is their new basically landing page for the academics. So you'll be able to find resources and training. You'll be able to connect with us. You can add suggestions if you have suggestions on things that we should do with the platform. Yeah, so it's pretty much all there. Visit it often and drop us a line.
Awesome. Have yourselves a great day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.